Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Nations race in the Group B cars at Sardinia version C. So this is the very short track now. This was quite expected. It was going to be a little bit chaotic. I did expect that. We were doing this race more so for just the fun of it. I just wanted to have a race, have a bit of fun. Didn't really expect much of a result from this because I've never really done a Group B race in terms of FIA or on a daily race. So qualifying, tried to get a slipstream, got a bit of a one, but wasn't perfect. A lot of people in top split, it was quite comical the way people were doing this to qualify. It was just a bit chaotic. Everyone wanted the slipstream, people braking just before the final corner, and it was all just a bit messy. But we managed to start P8, which isn't too bad for a top split race in Group B cars. I would have liked to have been a bit higher up, but it's not the end of the world. There's going to be plenty of opportunities in this race. Quite tricky cars to drive, especially when the tyres die. And it was a no-stop race for top split. If you wanted to pit, you would lose too much time and you'd just drop your way down the order. So the best way to run this race was to go in the pits, to not pit and just stay out and try and look after your tyres, and mainly the front tyres as well, because the front tyres tend to die off, giving you massive amount of understeer in these four-wheel drive cars. As we go through the grid, then you can see mainly people using the Peugeot. Now I discovered this the night before when we tested. The Peugeot seems to have better tyre wear, and that is why the majority of people have picked the Peugeot, because it seems to be able to keep them tyres in a lot better condition for the no stop. There is some people driving the Ford. The Ford was also able to do it if you messed around with the torque split, just adjusting which power goes to which front or rear wheels, etc. So if you take the power away from the front and put it more to the rear, tended to look after them front tyres a little bit more on the Focus and other cars. But Peugeot, we could get away with running, I think it was like 40 or 45. I think in the first race we had a bit of a disaster. We started quite well and then we just got wiped out, and we got 2 5-second penalties literally for nothing. One driver in front of us hit the wall and we were nowhere near him, and the game just decided to give me a penalty for it. It was quite funny, but we decided to try this next race. You can see the lights are about to go green. We're away, and can these 20 drivers get through turn 1 without any incident? This is going to be very interesting to be watching. Everyone going down into turn 1. Really hard place to be actually, starting from P8, because you're right in the middle of all the chaos. As we see, everyone keeping it fairly clean so far, giving people space. There's a few people diving in there, but overall fairly nice to see that everyone got through in probably one of the hardest starts we've had to do in FIA in these cars, especially because they're very tricky with the understeer and then the power of them as well. Everyone's got through there fairly clean, and we're still all driving okay so far. I think one driver's made a mistake so far on this open lap, lost control of his car, but you can see there he's actually won. Another driver there by looks for lost control, spinning. But other than that, fairly clean start as we now go into the final corner, and you see 2 cars run really wide. I'm going to have to go really wide now because they're going to have no tyres, and I just give them space and decide to take a really wide line and try and power out that corner. Not much I could do in that situation. They were on the grass. When you're on the grass, you pick up all the dirt off the grass and the ground, and you have no grip on your front tyre. So I pretty much knew that they were going to run really far wide there, so I gave them a bit of space as I try and tuck him behind Snake, but wasn't space there. So we go around the outside, try and hold it around the outside. Snake bashes us off the track a little bit. I hold the line, and there's a tiny bit of, you see here, there's a tiny bit of contact here, but there was literally nowhere for me to go. But Snake wasn't very happy with that. But at the end of the day, if you look at the gap I had nowhere to go. He had squeezed me into that gap. But however, we look on screen now and just look who we've got behind us. It's Tenka, our best friend from Gran Turismo. We've had quite a lot of battles with this guy, and it's got a little bit messy. I think it all started off quite far back. My kind of dislike for this driver came from it's not that I dislike him, I just don't like the way he attacks sometimes, and he'll just dive in random spaces. It comes from an FIA top split, a top 24 race from the official season, in the first ever official season. I think it was Le Mans. He decided to start, he was starting at the back of the grid, and he came back and just basically dived about 10 cars and gave, I think, a number of people a penalty in that race. And I really didn't like it, and then it's pretty much continued since then. It hasn't really changed much of his driving style. However, we've now got him behind, so we're going to have to try and make sure we keep an eye on the mirror, make sure he's not going to dive at some random place that's going to knock us off or anything like that. So it is quite unnerving when you've got someone like this behind you. You can see, unfortunately, with them two cars that made the mistake on that final corner, it's kind of lost the slipstream to this battle up front, which is really annoying because it's worth so much time being in a slipstream like that, especially if we were in P5 and we were actually behind that train of cars. You'd be gaining probably about maybe 7 tenths a lap, maybe more, because the strength of the slipstream doubles pretty much as it basically strengthens every time it goes another car back. So you pick up a massive boost down the straight, but unfortunately you can see we're not within that 1.4, 1.5 second range. We're 1.9 seconds behind. We're trying to push, and this is the only problem with what we're doing now, is we're pushing quite aggressively now when we really shouldn't be. But I kind of wanted to try my hardest to get in that slipstream range, but we're going to take a lot of tyre life out by doing this. So you can see I am pushing, and maybe I should have been a bit more cautious with the tyre wear, but at the end of the day, if I would have got in that slipstream range, it could have been worth 5, 6, 7 seconds over the space, over the whole race. But at the moment, we're just lacking behind. You can see we're around 2 second gap, 2 seconds behind, and we're maintaining the pace to P4 fairly equal to P4. However, he's got a massive slipstream, so the pace isn't too bad at this stage. He seems like he's just hanging on in there into that group, the top 3 group, and basically benefiting from the slipstream. You can see that gap is at 1.7 seconds now. So we've actually gained from the last lap at this point of the track, but it's not enough to get into that range. And we've got Tenka right behind us, putting us under some pressure. He's not really close enough to make a move at the moment though. We're managing to hold him off fairly okay at the moment. You can see he's not really in a position to dive from that far back. So we're just trying to be cautious on the throttle there, trying to not take too much life out of them front tyres. It is them front tyres that tend to wear out quite fast with this Group B rally car. As we now approach the left-hand corner, this was really tricky, but a corner I did actually like doing. You have to just get it to clip that curve on the power. Use some of the grass if you can on the outside. As long as you keep the 2 left-hand tyres on the tarmac, you should be okay for grip. And then down on this downhill section was really tricky for the understeer. You can see the rally car just understeering, but then starting to slide out, and then into this tight left-hand corner, being careful you don't go in too deep, because if you brake and put steering inputs at the same time, you can lose traction of the rear wheels, and then you start sliding and you just take life out of the tyres. But again, you can see we're managing to hold pace with P4 even though we do not have that slipstream. So frustratingly, if we would have had the slipstream, we would have been able to stay with them and keep in there and probably be able to fight for a top 4 or 5 position. You can see that I think it's P1 that's in that battle as well. So it's really interesting that if we would have stayed in that battle, we could have fought for the lead at this point of the race anyway. However, I don't think I would have had the ability at the end when the tyre wear kicked in, so I wasn't too good on the tyre. This is my first ever race in these cars. As Tenka gives us a little nudge, we run a little bit wide, but then he just nudges us off. But unfortunately, he actually gets a 5 second. Now, I actually think he got a 5 second penalty there, because after the nudge, where he pushed me a bit wide, the barrier sticks out, and we clipped that barrier as we were just getting back onto the track, and I think the game's just seen it as a penalty for Tenka because of that clip on the barrier. So unfortunate for him, as we then make a mistake into the final corner as well, totally mess it up. But Tenka was a little bit aggressive with that move. Looking back on it, I don't think it was too bad. It was just the fact that he knocked us off. It would have been nicer if he could have done that move without pushing me onto the right hand side, but then that caused his penalty. So in a way, the game's picked up on it, in a way correctly, in a way not, because I think it was because of, I don't think it was the contact that got him the penalty. I think it was after that, when we clipped the wall on the outside, on the right hand side, why he actually got that penalty. But we're going to take that position back into P6, but now we need to try and get ourselves back into P5. We've got another Persia in front of us now, so it's going to be equal. And luckily for me, we're in that slipstream range, so we're 1.1 second behind. And what you'll see is how much that is worth in terms of straight line speed. You will see the difference it makes on the straight. It really does help you out going on the acceleration zones. We don't really hook that up, but I just wanted to get in that slipstream just so that we're in it all the way down the straight. You can see now powering our way out the corner. You can see drivers going understeering wide in that focus there, where it really does suffer with the understeer through that final corner. You can see, luckily for Tenka, he actually stayed within the slipstream range, so you can see him in the background there in the focus fighting another focus. He's all within the slipstream range to catch each other. So this is a battle now with 5 cars. It's probably going to last for quite a while, because it's really hard to break a slipstream when it's on this weak setting rather than the real setting. As we now power through these really tricky corners, you can see it does look good. I have to say, I did quite enjoy this combination. This track kind of suits these GR.B rally cars. It was actually good fun, and I wouldn't mind more combinations like this in FIA. I know it's it was messy, and it was very likely that you were going to lose a lot of SR. In our first race we dropped down to about 78, but we managed to get it back to do this race again, luckily. And this race so far going okay. We've not had any penalties ourselves to knock our SR down, and now we're going to work our way to start another lap in P6 and just picking that slipstream up as we go down the straight. You can see picking it all up. We've got Snake behind us in the I think it was the Hyundai, I think then that was that, or the Toyota maybe. That car was fairly fast in a straight line, whatever car it was, as we now getting very close to P5 through there. He seems to be going very deep into that corner, and again trying to look for a way past, but there's not really much we can do at this point of track. Having a little look there, but we're not going to go for a move there, it's too far back. We're just trying to scare him into a mistake as he slides his way through that corner. That is not going to do the tyres any good. That's something you try and avoid, although that slide that we did earlier on into that final corner really took a lot of life out of my tyres. You can see how badly that has actually took the life out of them now looking at them. We're only just over halfway through this race. We go for the really wide line here. That's mainly to try and get on the power nice and early to give us the boost down the straight when we're in the slipstream. And you're going to see now how strong that slipstream is. You see picking the slipstream up into 6th gear now, and then it's going to really take effect there. Look how much of a boost it gives you as we go down. We went to do the undercut on him then to try and do a fake, and he didn't fall for it, so we had to just go out to the full width of the track and then try and cut back at this point. Can we get the cut back? No, we can't do it there. We now get on the power into 4th gear and just trying to avoid that understeer as we're so close to that slipstream. The car just wants to slide off on them fronts. It doesn't want to grip anymore of the tyre wear, really starting to take effect on this Peugeot as we go through that left-hand corner. And again, I really did enjoy that corner. You just have to throw it in there, get it onto the grass slightly and just hope it grips and get on the power as we go down the hill and then up the hill into, again, another very set of tricky corners. You've got to be so careful the car doesn't slide too much through here, because that will really take a lot of your tyre life out. Again, he goes into that corner a little bit deep. We're going to get on the power nice and early upshift into 3rd gear to try and dole that power a bit to stop the understeer, and then power our way out and see if we can go for a move again. Can we do it on our second attempt? Looks like we're going to have to try and go round the outside if we're going to make this move work. As we go to the right hand side of the track, we're going to stay there and just push it wide and see if we can brake as late as possible and hang it round the outside. And can we do that? A little nudge on the rear of the car, but that's okay. That's just, you know, in these Group B rally cars, I mean, you're going to get contact. It's pretty much impossible that contact is not going to happen. I mean, if you watch Rallycross in real life, for example, you will see how aggressively they drive. I think they pretty much end the race with half their car missing. But this is really entertaining so far. I did enjoy this combination. It was good fun. And it was a little bit of contact here and there, but I think it's kind of what you have to put up with these combinations. For example, with the tanker thing, I don't think it was particularly deliberate looking back on it. I just think it was a little bit, it was just that little bit of contact that knocked me wide that caused him to get the penalty. But unfortunate for him. But we're all still in this battle now. You can see now on the replay camera all 5 cars in this battle for P5. The other group have pretty much gone now because we've been battling that much, and the mistakes we've made and stuff has lost us quite a bit of time. And we were within that 2-second range, but it's pretty much disappeared that now as they've managed to pull away. Obviously driving in clean air and no mistakes from any of them. As again, you can see that slipstream taking effect from the Peugeot behind me. Having a little look on the left hand side there, but he's not really going to be able to go for that there. I decided not even to defend that because it's too risky. Now that's kind of where Tenka threw it up before. Tenka did throw it in from that position, but the Peugeot behind me thinks better of that and doesn't go for that move and stays in this race. As you can see, the understeer really taking effect on my car, really struggling with the front tyres as we go through that final section, and this is getting really tricky. You can see in the background a lot of battling, and I actually did that final corner really well, and now that they're battling, this is good for me because it means I can get some clean air for a little bit as they continue to battle, and I can just try and concentrate on my race and try and get these tyres to last to the end of the race. It's going to be a real struggle. If you look at that right front tyre, it has literally got nothing left in terms of grip, and we've still got quite a few laps to go. We've got 4-5 laps to go in this race, so it's going to be a real struggle to try and even get these front tyres as well as that rear right. The rear right is also looking a bit vulnerable, so the car's going to be very tricky on that final lap to even get round the lap, let alone hold on to any sort of position. But we're going to give it our best shot to see if we can hold on to P5 in this race. They're going to be struggling with tyres as well. Obviously any incidents that you've had in this race sliding or anything like that, will have multiplied your you know, the effects on the tires. I think the tire rate was like times 18, which really does, you know, if you slide your car, it totally destroys the tires as we go through that final corner again. Staying in third gear there, trying to just control the power as we get on the power all the way out, and just trying to stop that understeer a bit as well, to try and just preserve as much life as we can in these tires for the final few laps in this race. Now, as we now start lap 14, still holding on to P5. You can see that P4 has dropped off from that lead battle. It looks like he probably lost the slipstream, and now he's suffering with massive understeer with his car. It looks like the lead drivers have looked after their tyres really well, and obviously they've not been fighting too much. They've not had any sliding that's been going on to wipe their tyres out, but they're doing a great job in the lead of the race, P1, 2 and 3. But P4, it looks like if we would have held on to the slipstream to P4, we might have had a chance of getting that P4. I'm not sure about P1 or 2. I think they were just too good at this combination. But now looking in the mirror, you can see how close that Peugeot is to us as we go into that final corner for another time, trying to stay as narrow to the apex as you can, even though we're picking up massive understeer. And we actually go quite far out to the full width of the track, but that enables us to get quite a good exit speed, and we actually managed to hold on to this P5 and start pulling away. But then you can see that the Peugeot behind me is going to get that slipstream, and he might be able to go moving. But you can see there Tenka in the distance in the mirror goes for that really wide line. It's going to be 3 cars into this turn 1. Tenka goes for the undercut on the Peugeot, manages to make that work, and now we've got Tenka behind us again to try and hold him off for another few laps. Can we manage to do this? Is he going to go for something silly? It's going to be a case of you never know with Tenka pretty much. As again, the Peugeot decides to have a little look up the inside there, which would have been quite a dangerous move, but we managed to hold on again. He's not going to go for a move through here, but will he go for a move into the final corner? This was a really dangerous place to go for a move, as you just couldn't go too wide for this corner because of the way the corner is. It's pretty much a one. At this point, you can start doing overtake like he's doing there. He's going to go for the wide line. However, the Peugeot goes up the inside and pretty much neglects the advantage you would have got from that, and we decided just to go to the left hand side. I wanted to give the Peugeot the slipstream so they would fight each other into turn 1, but fortunately for Tenka, he managed to get himself in front, and now we're just going to go into the braking zone and try and hold this position as much as possible. We've got to be cautious that none of them brake a little bit too late. Obviously with the tyre wear on the cars, it is very easy to brake late and just clean wipe someone out. As you see in the distance, then the Peugeot sliding his way through that corner. We're going to try and hold on now. And you can see the Focus in the distance also making a mistake there, running out wide as we go down the hill now for this really tricky section. Again, this is where the car just wants to understeer, but we're going to do our best to hold on to this P5, as you can see, managing to get it through there that time reasonably okay. Going through this final corner now again, trying to make sure we start slowing down nice and early, because you don't want to brake late. That is where you just run really far wide. And again, taking that wide line to give us better exit speed, that enables me then to get back in front of Tenka and then get over to the left hand side of the track to defend into turn 1. Are we going to be able to hold on to this position all the way to the end? You can see Tenka's going to go around the right hand side. We're going to push him over to that right hand side to give ourselves some entry point into the corner, and again braking nice and early again, because we want to make sure we hold a tight line to give him the space on the right hand side. He's going to hold that right hand side, very similar to how Tenka, myself and Snake did it, but we give the space to Tenka this time. Unlike when Snake didn't give the space to me and then he ended up going off. You can see the difference with the way we did that line, but you can see there a little bit of a slide from the other Peugeot, runs a little bit wide, and he just can't make that corner. And now we're on the final few corners of this race, an intense race with Tenka right behind us. Is he going to go for something through this corner? You can see this is really where you don't really try it, but he tries it there, and a silly move, he hits me onto the barrier, and we can't stop the car now. But we decided to just carry on. But not much we could do in that situation. We had dirt on the tyres. We go down the straight and managed to hold on to P5. But if you have a little look back, Tenka actually received the 5-second penalty for pushing me off the track there before that final corner anyway, so we would have had it no matter what. But going back, you can see that it was a little bit of a silly move, but I can see why he went for it. But it's just never going to end well, because with the grip we have on the tyres at that stage of the race, it would have been better, I think, trying to get a really wide line and getting an undercut into the final corner. You see there a nudge on the side of the car, pushes me off the track. We hit the barrier there, and at this point we cannot stop the car, but you'll see now he receives a 5-second penalty before the next bit of contact, where we're just trying to slow the car down for the final corner. And even then, it doesn't really extend the full width of the track like we did at the start of the race, when I could see that the cars had gone off the track, and I decided to take a really wide line to give them space. He just turned in like normal. So again, it's hard to, I mean, I don't want to be too hard on him, but again, I think he should have just took a wide line, and we wouldn't have had that final bit of contact. But he'd already got the penalty at that point, and we go over the line in P5 with pretty much about 1% of tyre wear left on that right front tyre. Quite an enjoyable race, so I did enjoy that combination. It was a little bit iffy, that overtake attempt at the end by Tenka, but he did pay the price with a 5-second penalty, and he also got a, I don't know if it was a 5-second penalty early on in that race, so God knows what happened to his SR. As we know what that happened, you know, we had that same thing and lost quite a bit. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that race. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We're going to be back with more FIA catch-ups over the next few days. We need to catch up with quite a few races, and we'll be doing them hopefully over the next few days. We've got update 1.41 or 1.42 tomorrow to look at, so we'll be streaming that as well. Hope to see you all soon. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you very shortly.